Good evening, folks, and welcome to Alien Addict. God, that was a long intro. I didn't actually realise how long that was until I watched it back. But how are we all doing on this fine and skinny evening? Because it is a skinny evening because we have none other than Ivan0135 in the house tonight. Ivan, it's been a long time coming, my friend. Welcome to the show. It's
Hi.
too little.
Hello, how you doing?
But I've heard you know Ivan0135.
Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel, does he not?
He has. He's got a very mysterious YouTube channel that I constantly go back to see if there's any
It's a
sort
guilty
of
pleasure. It's a guilty
Easter
pleasure.
eggs.
Yeah.
And if anybody doesn't know Stu Little, he has asked me not to mention it, but I can't help but mention it. He's the man who's seen all 6 Calvine pictures.
And it's the thumbnail.
There you go. So I had to do that,
Thanks,
Stu. I know
Ollie.
you said,
Cheers.
I know you told me, but you know. But we got talking after that. We talked quite a little bit before, and you were more excited to do eventually something on Skinny Bob as a photographer, a video editor.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know when I discovered Skinny Bob. I've got a funny feeling it might have been one of your first videos that then put me onto it. But it's just been always a bit of a guilty pleasure looking at these videos because there's such a weird collection of clips, because part of them look really realistic and other parts look fake as can be. And it just doesn't make sense. And nobody's ever claimed to be Ivan, is it 1350 or whatever? I mean, and there's
nothing.
No, it's just, complete silence. And the channel was created the first video that was put up was the same day the channel was created. And it's an utter mystery, but there's parts of it that just blow me away because, like, just being in video editing and stuff like that, and around people who do visual effects and talking to visual effects artists and that, they scratch their heads at some of it. Some of it they laugh their heads off, but there's parts of it that just look really realistic.
Well, you've been doing a little bit of work on it, and thank you, Darkest Gooner, for the super chat, £2. I appreciate that. So does Stephen Greer, Homer Greer, should I say? But thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you people. But you've done some work over is it the last few days, couple of days now?
Yeah, nothing the last time where I spent days on the Calvine stuff, but
quite simple work as well. You said, it's
I literally used an app called Time Recut on my iPad and removed a few frames and retimed some of the videos so that the thing is, when you're looking at the Skinny Bob videos, they were obviously shot in 8mm, which would be 12 frames per second, so 12 images every second that makes up the film clip. And they've been retimed because they've obviously been sampled and copied across digitally to 25 frames per second. So I know a lot of people on the internet, like comments in the Skinny Bob page, will say, "Oh, speed it up, it looks more realistic," but you're doing that and you've still got actually duplicate frames going on in between. So what I've done is removed those duplicate frames, so it's like returned to its 12 frames per second, and then I've retimed it so it looks more natural.
Should we bring it up?
Yeah, can do.
Here we go.
We can talk over this, can't we, Ollie? Yeah?
Yes, you can talk over this.
Right, so obviously this is the original Skinny Bob video. Absolutely untouched, ripped from YouTube, and just cut to this segment with Skinny Bob. This is with the duplicate frames removed. So this is 12 frames per second.
So why did you do the 12 frames per second?
Because that would have been its original frame rate, being
Right.
8mm. And then what I've done this time is I've retimed it to 30 frames per second, but I've done it in such a way so that it's in real time to the time code that's there.
Because the clock was it slower?
Yeah, it was slower. And you can see that there's a lot better movement. And what I'm doing here is I'm highlighting, I want you guys to concentrate on the eyebrow and the eyelid. We'll talk about it more later, but the eyebrow and the eyelid are the key points in this part of the Skinny Bob videos anyway, that I think are fascinating, because to create that amount of micro movement, and like if it was a puppet, for example, would just be insane, especially if this was, you know, recorded supposedly between the 40s, 42 or something, and 69. And if it wasn't, and it was faked, and it's like, you know, visual effects and CGI and all that kind of thing, then the cost involved to do that would be astronomical. I mean, I know
how do you know this? I mean, I know I did a video with what's the guy's name? Abomination, and
Yeah.
he talked about some specific frames in the Skinny Bob that he thinks could possibly be real, a hidden gem inside this. But he said about the actual Skinny Bob, how much? That's what I found interesting, because I do think it looks fake. But how much would it have cost back in 2011?
2011, you're probably talking easily $50 to $150,000 to do that clip and make it look as crappy as it does. It's serious money, because I mean, you've got to do it properly. So you're building a character that's, you know, has a skeletal structure underneath it, then, you know, muscles, tendons, fibers, skin, subsurface scattering, the amount of like detail and information that goes into like creating those little micro movements is just absolutely phenomenal. And that's what makes me think, you know, this particular part of the Skinny Bob series of clips, I think, is actually real. I know you're not so convinced by it, but I just think the actual Skinny Bob footage itself is pretty realistic and being real. It's been faked up though quite dramatically as well. I mean, in the original videos, there's a projector sound going on, which we know is fake because the stuff hasn't been projected. And the scratches and degradation with the film overlay on it, I believe somebody on Reddit identified it as being from Boris Effects in After Effects. So that's been applied to make it look old. And there's just different things are going on in the actual clip. The reasons for doing this, who knows? You know, was the original footage bland and boring? Was it just incompetence and, you know, the guy just didn't know what, or woman, whoever, didn't know what they were doing? Was it deliberate planned degradation? Were they blackmailing somebody? These are all sort of things that have been talked about in the past, about whether, you know, the video is fake or real.
Do you?
So if you look at the eyebrow, it's the fact that the eyebrow lifts up slightly as the eyelid is blinking, and the eyelid is blinking not evenly. So it's just so detailed. Just knowing the kind of apps you've got to use to generate and hand animate these things is just, you know, I mean, there's different ways of capturing motion these days. You'll have seen like things like Andy Serkis, you know, becoming Snoke in Star Wars, and they're doing full face motion capture, the likes of Thanos, that kind of thing in the Marvel movies. But this, at the end of the day, there's still an artist or artists that have to go in and fine tune these animations. And it's only really in sort of 2015 onwards that we've had the technology there to really nail realistic faces. I mean, in the recent series of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, they've kind of pretty much nailed Luke Skywalker younger, whereas only a few years before that, during Rogue One, they tried to make a young-looking Princess Leia, and it slips into the uncanny valley of not looking realistic and having a little bit of a sort of, you know, fakeness about it. It just doesn't look real.
Wouldn't you say, though, that the fact that it's got all this mess over the top of it, that the quality of it could possibly be disguised by making it look old?
Well, if the original film quality because it is film, has been like captured and preserved enough, then it's only going to get better. I mean, if whoever created this put the scratches and different things over the top of it and made it look older than it actually is, or it just comes down to why would you do that? Well, I mean, the obvious reason is, well, they faked it and it was done in 2011. They want to make it look older, but it could well be that even though it was an older piece of footage, it actually looked quite clean, vanilla, boring, too realistic, so they wanted to kind of noise it up a bit and make it look older than it was. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I just think it's fascinating. I say, if you watch the clip repeatedly, it's the eyebrow movement in conjunction with the eyelid blink is so difficult to replicate. I mean, it definitely rolls out at being a puppet. There's no way that is, anything animatronic, because that's just too fine a motor control. I mean, the obviously in the Star Wars, referencing Star Wars again, like Yoda and the baby Yoda Grogu, they have used puppets, but they still augment them with little movements and that have been created with visual effects just to get a hyper realism into it. And as I say, when I first saw it, that was the thing that got my attention was, it's the stretching of the skin. I don't know if you can notice that, but even at the poor quality it is, the eyelid, the skin quite clearly stretches. That's just such a difficult thing to do. And even now, visual effects artists get it wrong, and it comes down to budgetary constraints.
Just for the audience, so they know, your video, you help make documentaries, photos. You're a photographer.
Yeah, I was a photographer originally, and over the years, I've gradually sort of migrated into doing video and video editing, and I've probably been video editing now for about 15 years, so almost half my career I've been doing video editing. And just when the pandemic hit, I decided to set up a YouTube channel and start teaching video editing. But I do video editing for clients and different people, and it can be commercials, it can be just like musical pieces, it can be all sorts of things that people give me to edit. A Chamber of Commerce video, for example, I got to edit the other week, that kind of thing.
So with your experience as an editor, photographer, you've been in the industry for a long time. You've analyzed this video for quite some time, being a
years
fan of.
Now, I mean, literally years. I've looked at it on and off. As I say, I mean, I think it was either your first or second video put me onto it, and it's like one of these sort of rites of passage in ufology. You discover the Skinny Bob videos, and they just look. Parts of it we can look at it as well, like the actual UFO flying and the house in front and stuff like that. The parts of it just look utterly ridiculous. There's the crash scene. The autopsy scene is quite interesting as well, although it's poorer quality as well. But there's just elements of it.
That looks nothing like Skinny Bob.
Don't know if it's the same alien.
Because this is what Abomination said. He said when he looked at the filters that had been used, he could tell that they'd messed about with it. But this is the one that he could not see any foul play when it came to using filters and what have you. He thinks this video footage is original footage.
Yeah, I mean, I would
from
say,
way back when.
Yeah, I would agree, but I mean, I would also say that the Skinny Bob footage that we just looked at is original as well. I think the two sit side by side, but I mean, if you were just looking at the overlay and the scratches and the degradation of it, I think the same kind of filter's been applied to that footage as the other footage. And the only way you would really know that is to literally like go through it frame by frame and mark it out bit by bit, literally drawing little markers, and then see if they line up in
So
the
when we
later
bring the
footage.
video up that you've done, what in this video is, what do you think is fake in this video?
There's nothing particularly fake in this video other than the time code has been overlaid. The film scratches and degradation has been applied on top because it actually is on top of the time code.
Is it
I
being
don't
filmed on
think-
VCR as well? Because it's got the lines going up it.
Well, I think it's been converted from 8mm to VCR, and I think it's gone from VCR then to being scanned, whether that's like Betamax or VHS or whatever. It's then going from VCR quality to, which will be really low resolution, and to digital, and then we're seeing the digital version, which is then being further aged down and degraded. So I mean, again, if you look at, I mean, it's such subtle. I'm looking at such subtle portions of the.
Yeah, there's movement in the lips as well. There is.
Yeah, and also the neck muscles sort of twitch as well. If you look at the sort of side neck muscle where would be our carotid artery, that kind of moves as well. And it's just, there's too much going on in there for that to be, like, the amount of money it would take to fake that up for a YouTube video would be phenomenal. It really would.
You know, I've always said this on my videos that I think this is fake.
Yeah.
And you totally disagree with that.
Totally disagree. I think that particular bit of footage is real.
I mean, I'm not a video editor. You know, I don't mess about with special effects or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around visual effects guys, and I've like helped with different projects and stuff like that. So I mean, I talk to these people and Skype them, and over the years, and like anyone that's seen the Skinny Bob stuff, they're kind of stumped by. But you get some camps like Abomination that say that's fake, and you get some camps that say the autopsy stuff doesn't look real, but that looks real. So it just comes down to what you're used to. I mean, a good channel to, like, if the audience want to get into this, to go and learn about visual effects is Corridor Crew, Corridor Digital. They've got two channels, Corridor and Corridor Crew. The Crew stuff is behind the scenes, and they do a show every Saturday called VFX Artists React. They've actually done a couple of UFO episodes, and they are really good at explaining about the software they use and how things are actually created within the industry. And they're also not shy about talking about how much things cost as well. And they generally make videos for YouTube, but they also do behind the scenes stuff. They're a good channel to go and look at, but there's loads of, I think Cinema Riot's another good one. There's loads of channels out there, whereas if you actually go and pay attention to these people, you'll learn that this stuff doesn't come easily, even now, with VFX being it's such a good quality now.
Let's bring the first video that ever came up and just talk me through what you saw when you first started to analyze this video.
Sure. Right. You want to pause it here just a second? We talk about.
I can't.
You can't. Right. Okay. The first bit's the KGB logo. We've then got what looks like a kind of plantation style house, Cajun, Acadian, that kind of thing, with the what I call the blimp shaped UFO. We've then got a shaky footage of a UFO flying. These things can look a bit fake. This I'm not sure about either. You've got a kind of alien and then the craft in the background.
They remind me of Thunderbirds.
Yeah, it has a smack of, you know, models getting built, kit bashed together. The autopsy stuff, though, you start to think, you know, that looks real. So I mean, the first clip, it just so happened the video that I first clicked on was the actual Skinny Bob video. So that's where I started. I didn't start with the.
So you started.
Yeah, I started with that one. And even the likes of the little sort of commentary at the beginning, it's quite ominous in places, you know, the way it's kind of written up, and not almost threatening, but not far off being threatening. Especially, there's a video where they provided some feedback, but they obviously decided not to provide further feedback. So, I mean, this is the first one that I saw. And it's the eyes, it's the eyelids, it's the movement, the micro, and the fingers moving. And you can see even in the stance, I know there's people have done analysis whereby they're going on about the lack of parallax or the lack of distortion in the camera movement because they're tilting the camera up. I don't even know what that bit is. Do you know what that bit is?
I have no idea what that is.
No, I don't know what that. I don't know what that is at the end. But I mean, even if you look at the alien standing there, it sways slightly. You know, there's just really subtle movements that you just don't get in puppets, and you could potentially get in visual effects and a computer-generated character. But again, it comes down to budget, money, you know, and it's big bucks. And you've also got to remember, in 2011, I don't know if YouTube was that long since like monetized, so they wouldn't be making money off this. The channel, as far as I know, isn't monetized. There's no adverts play on it that I know of.
So this is the channel. Yeah. There's not one advert. There's no monetization whatsoever.
And it's had a good amount of views, so you know somebody would have making a buck or two off it.
So that's how many views it's had. Nearly 2 million.
Yeah.
Nearly 2 million views.
That's a good few grand.
Off 4 videos. I mean, this guy could have just kept on going.
Yeah, I mean, literally 4 videos, nothing else since 2011, and we're here in 2022 still discussing that because it's just so fascinating. It just blows me away. What is seconds of footage? I mean, I know that KGB logo, it's been debunked as being lifted from some kind of documentary in the 90s. I think I might even have secret KGB UFO files released in 1998, supposedly. But the thing is, where did they get the logo from? Where did they lift it from? You know, Redditors are saying, oh, it came off of this documentary, but where did the documentarians that made the documentary get the logo from? It might have been lifted from the same place. You don't know. The blacked out bits top and bottom supposedly say top secret KGB archive in Russian. It's a relic. So that's what's behind the 2 blacked out bits, from what I believe.
It's for me. When I look at the whole video, it's like looking at a work of art. It really is. I mean, I do admire it as an amazing fake hoax.
Yeah.
But when there's someone like yourself saying, well, and so many people tell me this when I say that I think Skinny Bob's fake. They tell me how much it would have cost to make that back then, and then I do look at it and think, well, you know, about things like Star Wars, Star Trek, or any horror films, whatever. When you're looking at old animatronics, because my initial thought is that this thing, Skinny Bob, it's an animatronic, it's a puppet, and it has some clever CGI put over the top of it, like a CGI mask. So maybe that
would make it even more expensive. But I mean, this is the thing. There's only so many people in the world that can produce these puppets. You know, the community of, you know, people like Phil Tippett or like Stan Winston Studios and that, it's quite a small. It's still a lot of people, but it's still quite a, you know, it's under 1,000 people probably could produce, and maybe even 100 people that could produce a puppet of that quality. And to produce a puppet with that amount of detail and that amount of movement, because you've got to remember, if that thing is like the
so Stu, are you saying this is the original movement then? Yeah, I think Lee said that as well. That's the
Yeah,
speed.
yeah. See, the retime graded and I
like
sharpened it up a bit. This is, I think, in real speed. I think that's real time. And then obviously highlight the eyebrow and eyelid movement, micro movements, and then we zoom into it. So I would agree with the people who say speed it up, because it's just by the nature of, it was originally 12mm. It's obviously, which you can see due to the interlacing effects, the lines going up the screen. It's obviously been converted to VHS or Betamax, and then it's then been digitized from there for, you know, putting up on YouTube. So it would cost a fortune. It really would. I mean, just even like if it was a puppet, it's going to be latex. Somebody's going to have molds out there for it. It's too easy for that kind of thing to be discovered. Do you know what I mean? You know, if somebody created that, they'd have to smash up the molds, get rid of everything, hide it all, you know, and it's not even a one-person job to make something like that. You're talking, like, to make a puppet like that, you know, somebody's got to do the molds, the original sculpting, and then the mold making, and then the latex masking, the eyes. You then got the animatronics, you've got the electronics of the animatronics. It's not a one-person job. You're talking like half a dozen people may be involved, depending on who's doing it. It can be a one-person job, but then
what if it was a really well done fake? He got the job.
Yeah, he got the job. But I mean, again, we've never seen anything like it being repeated in like any UFO documentaries or in any sci-fi movies or anything like that. It's not as if, oh, Skinny Bob appeared on such and such a TV show. It was on the X-Files in the 90s. You know, there's just no indication. Like, if somebody goes to the effort to make a puppet like this, they're going to get it put on a show somewhere. You know, even if it was like a student or somebody just getting into the industry and they did this as a really elaborate show reel, you're going to see that puppet in a movie somewhere, in a show. There's plenty of X-Files style, you know, sci-fi shows out there, but there's nothing there, because I mean, even the likes of the wrinkles in the skin. I mean, for all its degraded footage, you can still see a lot of detail there. There's wrinkles in the skin. The skin moves underneath the muscles and stuff like that. It's just so complicated.
So you think it's real, but do you think it was filmed way back when?
I don't know when it would be filmed. If I was to take a guess, you have to sort of plank it between somewhere 47 Roswell era through to the 50s. I mean, even though there's KGB stuff on here, and again, this is where you've got to be careful with this stuff. It's full of fakery as well, time coding and stuff like that. And in the other elements, you can tell there's bits that just don't look realistic at all. But in amongst all that, so there's loads of red herrings. There's the potential for reality, and you know, is this Project Blue Book stuff? You know, is J. Allen Hynek involved in this? That kind of thing. Was it shot in the 50s or the 60s? Who knows? I mean, obviously, by the time we got to the 1960s, color 8mm was well available. If you look at like the Zapruder film in '63 of Kennedy being assassinated, so color film was easily available to those who could afford it. So if this was a government thing, they could afford color. So the fact that it's black and white probably lean it towards between the 1940s and the mid to late 50s. Because once you get into the 60s, Kodak color 8mm was quite common and reasonably inexpensive, I believe, at the time. So I would think it would be 1940s, 1950s would be my guess.
If you take the money out of the equation of how much it would cost to make that back then, just take all that out.
Back then, as in 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Could it still be a hoax? in your mind?
Was the technology there to do it? Is that
Yeah.
basically what you're saying? Yeah, I'd say so, because obviously, you had the likes of, well, Iron Man was 2008, Transformers was 2008. You know, there's a lot of movies. In fact, I'll just give me a sec. I'm just going to go look through a library of videos and we'll see.
No, mate. There's loads of movies. Loads.
Yeah, I mean, the definitely recreating alien or human, CGI characters. It's obviously easier to create something that's not real or isn't real to us. So, like an alien, a grey, an ET, is obviously going to be a much easier to create because it's fantastical as it is anyway. But there's anatomical movements in that I think even in 2011 they would struggle to do. I mean, it's only since I would say the movie Logan, the Hugh Jackman Wolverine last Logan. Yeah, spoilers for anyone that hasn't watched it.
I've not watched it.
Well, there's a bit in the movie whereby there's two Wolverines, and one of them is completely digital and one of them is real, and you couldn't tell the difference between them.
Oh yeah, you see that loads. I mean, you got. I tell you one that was done really well. Well, I thought it was at the time, and it was one with the Terminator when the Terminator's versing the Terminator, and I looking at it, and it looks like a decent Arnold. It looks like a decent Arnold, but that's a lot of money to do that.
Again, you're back to the money thing. The only thing that tends to restrict anybody is time and money, because rendering costs time and money in terms of processing power. You know what I mean? These companies like Industrial Light and Magic or Weta Digital down in New Zealand who do all the kind of Lord of the Rings stuff and that, and Digital Domain, and there's loads and loads of companies. They have huge render farms with literally, just terabytes and terabytes of processing power and data space for crunching, the numbers. I mean, in the movie Interstellar, when they did the black hole,
my favorite film,
right? That took, I think, the best part of a month to render. That short clip, it was literally hours and hours and hours per frame.
I can imagine.
Because of the detail, and then they used scientifically accurate information for it, and the money was put into it and the time was put into it, because that's just Christopher Nolan for you. I mean, the cornfield he grew the year prior and then sold it off for profit and stuff like that. I mean, he's a details-oriented guy. When he did Tenet, rather than building a CGI 747, they just crashed a 747. It was cheaper. It always comes down to time
somebody
versus
does
money.
have a lot of money is government agencies that may want to point people in the wrong direction. And what better way to do that than put 4 videos up, spend a hell of a lot of money on it, and get all of YouTube making live streams about Skinny Bob?
Yeah. I mean,
but then
disinformation's a thing. I mean, it's definitely, I mean, there's the big, argument about, whether Lou Elizondo is, he's throwing out disinformation left, right, and centre. Did he actually work for ETIP or not? I don't know. But anyway, it's definitely a thing, psyops and, misleading the public. If the Americans aren't doing it on a daily basis, they haven't had their coffee yet, quite frankly. It's out there all the time on a simple level, to do with like politics and all that kind of stuff in America. And it happens here in the UK as well. I mean, we've got a parliament full of bullshit and idiots.
So after, I think it was after the second video. Let me just check. Yeah, after 2 videos had been out, he
put a response video up.
This.
See, that in itself is kind of interesting. 2 videos, and then he felt the need, or she we'll just say he for the sake of Ivan, felt the need to comment. But it's quite do you not think it's quite sort of almost aggressive, passive aggressive maybe?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, the way it's being kind of directed at the audience. And obviously you've got the handprint behind, which I'd never seen before. I don't think enough people pay attention to that.
I don't think anybody's mentioned the handprint. They just mentioned the response.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the things that we're not supposed to look at that we should be looking at. You know, is that a true alien handprint behind? Or is it just some poor person that's, you know, is it polydactic or whatever they call it?
I mean, I just stand as I really admire great artwork, and to me, it's just fucking phenomenal work. But again, I'm with you, Stu, on the money. It's too expensive. It's far too expensive.
I'm just actually looking. I'm just going to look and see when YouTube monetized.
I mean, that's here and there, because I'm pretty sure this person would have realized by now that the channel's being monetized. You know, a couple of put a few more video. I guarantee this person could put a video up of him sharpening a pencil, and it'd end up with like 180,000 views within a few weeks.
Yeah.
And then, like, what does this mean? Ivan 0135 is sharpening his pencil.
2 years before, August 2009, the Partnerships and Partner Program launched. So it was still early day, and even at that, it wasn't like it is now.
But those were in the great days, you know, where you make shitloads of money. This guy could have absolutely.
I had a YouTube channel back then that did Photoshop tutorials, and I'm always sorry that I deleted it because I closed down my Photoshop training site in 2010. So it was the year before, because I decided to go back to working on photography and video full time rather than doing any sort of teaching, which I was doing more of than anything else back then. And I had over 100,000 bloody subscribers and was getting really decent views, sometimes into the millions, but I never made a penny on them because the channel wasn't monetized. And early 2010, I just shut it down and closed it off. Had I known then, or now, then what I know now, which is I should have held on to the channel, held on to what subscribers I could, and, you know, leveraged it to even this channel, on the channel I run now, then I would have done. But, you know, you learn. But I mean, it's early days in the monetization side of things. So I mean, whoever was doing it, I think money was their goal. You know, it just wasn't making money out of it. Just wasn't a thing, and it still isn't to this day.
Well, after he did the you know, handprint and said, you know, believe what you want to believe, whatever. He put out the vacation. What did you make of that? You think that's?
Let's play that one through.
This is the one that's in a bit of color.
Yeah. That's the one with the multiple aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, very well done. Better, you know, a lot better than. Was X-Files still a thing back then? Yeah,
94 is when the X-Files started.
When did it finish?
I think 99, and then there was like 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah, and then they relaunched the series, didn't they?
Yeah, they did another season or 2. I'm just actually... I mean, Avatar was 2009, for example. I mean, that's like, I think, one of the biggest grossing movies ever. But it's a good benchmark of...
Maybe it's just one of the guys from Avatar practicing, just testing the waters.
Don't know. You just don't know. I'm just looking through. I'm looking through my own library of videos just to see.
There you go. There they are. The little guys.
Yeah. Again, it's... I didn't bother stripping. Well, I did actually strip it out to 12 frames and give you it, but I didn't speed it up. I don't think it needs sped up, actually. It looks quite fast. If anything, it might need slowed down.
That was the one that you did in 12 frames a
Yeah.
second.
That again, it's not as convincing to me as the standalone Skinny Bob one, but it does look pretty realistic. But it's still, that's in the uncanny valley, that one, because it could be, you know, very skinny small person dressed up with an alien mask on top. You just don't know. But again, you can, if you look closely, you can see them blinking and things like that. So
see, my thing in this, and it is, and I have tried to get Abomination on, but he doesn't respond to my messages. I think he's given up on his YouTube channel.
It's been a lot looking at what he's done, because I remembered his name from when you originally did the video with him, and I went and looked at his stuff, and then I went back to his channel just obviously the other day, and I don't think it's been updated in like a few years now.
I think he stopped doing it, but he mentioned about this particular scene, right? And I keep going back to this because that looks nothing. The eyes are completely different. It's weird as hell to watch. I mean, in slow motion here, there's something about this scene that I just think I'm wondering if.
But again, you know, we're looking at it from the point of view of the alien. To me, does look different, but you know, obviously, as humans, underneath the skin, we're all the same. But on top of the skin, we're Asian, we're black, we're Caucasian. You know what I mean? We all look slightly different. And maybe that's the same with Greys. Who knows? That there's a slight difference in, you know,
That's
this one
different
comes
to this
from,
guy.
Yeah.
He looks a lot
you know,
friendlier, you know?
He looks younger. If I was to say anything, I would say that alien there looks younger than the one that's lying on the table. That would be my takeaway.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't know if I trust him with the kids, but he definitely looks like a friendly little fucker.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's another video out there that's got nothing to do with Skinny Bob. Have you seen the alien that has it's like the interview and it actually like converses with a strange person?
Yeah, that's 100% fake.
Yeah, I mean, but just to compare, I know it's fake, but that's a good comparison. It looks fake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't look real. There is more sort of puppetry going on there than anything else. I don't even know how it was done, but it just doesn't look right. Whereas this,
you are getting you get him swallowing and breathing in that neck as well, aren't you?
Yeah. If you look at the back of the neck and like what would be the Adam's apple and like the shoulder, like you can actually effectively see the joint movement in the shoulder, like the clavicle area flexing and stuff like that. We're used to looking at humans moving about. We think nothing of it. But if you really break it down, you know, there's such subtle movement going on in that video. But there's also in the other videos, I mean, the likes of the video whereby I think it's been maybe filmed from a train, and it's a plantation style house, or Acadian or Cajun style house, southern US, Alabama, Georgia, that kind of area, Louisiana, and you see the sort of what I would call blimp shaped UFO. It's been proven that the UFO doesn't move. It's the camera that's doing the movement because somebody stabilized the footage. So the UFO does not move. And it looks more like an airship to me. It looks like a World War II blimp.
It definitely looks like it's there. I mean, you've even got the reflection of it, which is
yeah, the specular highlight.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. That.
Yeah. So I mean, again, you look like the Matrix was 99, so the subsequent Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions was like 2001, 2003 or something. So it was, Man of Steel was 2013. There's a lot of big movies that you would watch and not really think anything of because the special effects were so good. I mean, the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie was 2003 because it was the year I got married. That's how I remember that. So, I mean, all the subsequent movies with all the effects and things like Salazar's Revenge, all these things, the technology is definitely there by Salazar's Revenge was 2017. On Stranger Tides was 2011. So, I mean, the technology was there, but again, it comes down to time and money. I mean,
I can tell you now that 58% of the audience thinks that Skinny Bob is real.
Yeah. I'm convinced that
so you're winning, Stu. We got 42% no. That's interesting. It's interesting.
But there's other parts of the videos.
I will come back to Skinny Bob again in about another 3 years. I guarantee it.
When Ivan finally owns up and says,
"What if he's dead?"
Well, this is the thing. I mean, maybe the CIA or the
no. Let's go down the fate route. Okay, right. Massive project. Yeah, guy had a bit of money, wanted to make a YouTube channel. He was a talented guy. He's a talented guy.
You wouldn't do
a bit of an artist. Clip. A bit of an artist. He liked his sniff and all that, and he just popped his clogs. Yeah.
Who knows? It's just fascinating.
Maybe he had a whole plan.
Why would you do it? What's the benefit of doing that?
Why do anything on YouTube? There's some weird shit on YouTube.
Yeah, it's just, well, that's true. Some stuff on my channel is weird, but no, it's just, I don't know. It's like, why would you do it? I don't get it. It's fascinating. But again, if you look at other parts of the video, it looks really cruddy and fake.
But so well put together. Very cleverly put together.
Yeah. It's an art form to make something look that bad. It's difficult. It's not easy to make stuff look like a potato and it still work. So whoever did it, if they were working with, original material or not. I mean, let's hypothetically say.
But Stu, just quickly there.
Sure.
But you do acknowledge that there has been a filter put over the top of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's Boris effects. It's been the scratches and the overlay and all the little noise and dust and stuff like that. That's all fake.
So if it's real, why put that over it?
To make it look older than it actually is, or make it look worse than it actually is. Was it put up as, did somebody get a hold of it and put it up on YouTube in this manner as a way of sort of firing shots over the bow of the industrial, military industrial complex?
That's interesting.
Are they basically saying, I've got this, but you and I know that it could look better. There's better quality out there than what I've put out there. I don't know. Were they blackmailing somebody? Have they been offed?
See, I like that. It's exciting.
Yeah. It's definitely. It's just.
I do agree on the movement, but I mean, we've got 150 people watching. Love you guys. Get the thumbs up, people. And if I've not seen the chat, I do apologize because I don't have the chat on the screen at the minute. I'm going to go back to the chat in a moment. But if you could just, for the audience that have just joined, explain this again, what you did with this.
Sure. Right. This is the original Skinny Bob video, ripped from YouTube and played. Nothing unusual. And I've just edited it down to the Skinny Bob segment. And then the next one is I've removed the duplicate frames because Skinny Bob was clearly 8mm film that was then transcoded to VHS or Betamax and then digitally. So it went from 12 frames to 25. And then in this clip, I've taken the original retime 25 frames per second and speeded it up to match the time code. And in this one, I've just graded and sharpened it a little bit and just made it a little bit more contrasty so that you can see a little bit more detail. And I'm just highlighting what I see in this video, which is the eyelids and the eyebrows and the micro movements in that area. And like, even if you look closely and watch the nose moves and everything. There's too many things going on in that face subtly.
There is a lot of movement. It's got a bit of a Michael Jackson nose, though. You know, there's not a lot of movement there.
Yeah. It's up to, I mean, as I say, it's up to each person as they see it. I think this looks real. Why it's there, who knows? There's other parts of the video I just think looks utterly fake. And I don't pay much attention to that. I mean, like, so if you go back to the clip of the alien on the ground with the ship behind it, you know, it just looks utterly staged. And if anything, it does. It looks like 2/3 the scale or whatever.
Oh,
I mean, the alien ship just looks kit bashed together from like car wheel hubs or something.
You've just dropped out.
Have I?
Yeah, well, yeah. You've gone completely black, and your audio's changed to like a different audio.
Hold on, I'll come out and back in. Okay.
No worries. Let's have a look at the poll, people. Okay, 61% so far say Skinny Bob is real, and 39% say no. So it wasn't a waste of time doing this video. I mean, I have to say, I've made a few videos on Skinny Bob, and I've talked about it many a time. The videos excite me. I love this Ivan0135. Email me. I'll bring my email up right now. You can email me and we could talk about it. I would, if the guy's still alive. I'm very torn with Skinny Bob because I do think there's something about this video. It doesn't make sense to me that this guy made a channel back in 2011. Literally, if you look at the about section of the channel, he made it in 2011. He's 11 years old, and never been monetized. The guy's nearly got 2 million views out of 4 little videos that at the time would have cost a small, well, not a small fortune, a mortgage, you know, on a decent house. That's what it would have cost to produce this footage. Did the guy get the job or what? You know, it's going to be one of those things. Like I said, I'm going to come back to it in probably another 3 years' time, looking back at these 4 little videos, and there's going to be nothing there, just 4 videos, and it's probably going to be on 3 million views. Guy's probably snuffed it. Let's face it. He probably has. Hey, here he is.
Hello. I had to reboot my phone there. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened, mate. You come. Maybe it's Ivan.
Oh, it's Ivan coming to get us.
So, yeah, where did we leave off from?
I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought there, to be honest with you.
Well, I can tell you, Stu, now that 63% of the audience believe that Skinny Bob is real.
Still winning.
37% say no.
I think there's lots of parts of the different videos is completely fake, but just that one particular piece, I think's too realistic. And if it was faked, somebody had a lot of money to burn on computer equipment, rendering time, and skill, because it takes skill to do that level of computer generated image, and it takes even more skill, I would say, to generate a puppet.
See, there's the thing when it comes to the skill, and you've done a piece of art, whether you've done it to get a job or not. At some point, you know, if I'd have got the job, me being Ivan0135, I'd have gone, guys, I'm Ivan0135. This was a project I was trying to get into this company. Got the job now.
Well, that's the thing.
Thanks to Skinny Bob.
I mean, every artist I've ever met, to some degree or another, has an ego.
Yeah.
They want their work to be seen by as many people as possible. And they also want to probably make a buck or two.
They do. And it's shameless, you know? Sometimes they just try and force their merchandise just down your neck. And I don't like it. That's what my wife's got hold of my StreamYard. Stop it. But you know, they do, and so they should, you know, if they put the work in.
So a decade or more ago, somebody uploaded 2 videos, I think it was. No, was it one video, then a response video, and then the other 2 videos? Or was it 2 videos and then the response? 2 videos, then the response.
2 videos, then a response. Thank you, Moonlich.
Can I just say it? It's not Moonlich, it's Moonlicht. It's Scottish. It's Moonlicht.
How do you pronounce it?
Licht.
Licht. Moonlicht. There you go.
It's light, but it's Scots.
Goof on, you know now.
Yeah. It's Moonlicht. So I don't know who that is, but Moonlicht. Was it the Moonlicht next to night? I tell you,
he's a good man. He's a good man. Good supporter of good support of a lot of UFO channels.
A continuing supporter.
Yeah, a continued supporter. Yeah, thank you so much, Moonlicht.
Yeah, so I mean, you got this weird response video. So they'd obviously been watching the videos at that point. There's then the 4th video. Can we look at the 4th video again?
Yeah, of course you can.
Which is the first one in the list, yeah?
What, the vacation?
Is that what it is? Just the first one on the left-hand side. Okay,
you mean the first video?
Would that be the first video? So it's one video, then the response, and then 2 other videos. Is that right?
Yeah, it's YouTube's got it the opposite way around. You mean the black and white one, right at the end with the flying saucer?
No, I went to see the one in the far left next to the hand.
Okay, got you. That's even not sized right. Look at it. Look at the size of that.
It is the family vacation, right? So is that the 4th video uploaded then?
That's the 4th video that came out after
So he did 2 videos, then he did that response video, and again I'm using the he as the royal he in sense of we don't know if it was a man or a woman or an alien.
Don't know many female Ivans.
No. So Ivanka.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe it's Donald Trump's wife, the artistic cow.
Oh, she's dead now anyway. Right.
Is she?
Yeah. Ivana Trump died not that long ago. She fell down the stairs or something.
Shit, I did not know that.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, he did the response video and then he put out the 4th video, but there's nothing after that. Why wouldn't you do a further response to the comments on this video, of which there's quite a few? So it's saying Treaty 2304. The meetings would, so is that 2004 or 1904? Do you know what I mean?
Let me go back.
So he's saying this is, you know, a secretly filmed meeting. Is there not one of the NASA astronauts was at an airbase when supposedly, like one of the Apollo guys was at an airbase? This is before he was in Apollo and Mercury and all that.
So if we're going to talk about this guy, maybe putting a message out to people, certain people that he's saying, look, I've got this footage. That's weird that he's put 2304, then no year.
Yeah, under the treaty 2304, you know, is that a date or is that a reference to like a serial number? The meetings would be confidential and filming or taking photographs would not be allowed. Or is it a typo?
A typo on these.
The Treaty 23, paragraph 4, I don't know. Is that the part of this whole majestic stuff? You know how you get the majestic?
Yeah.
It's weird. Right, carry on. So obviously they've got these aliens walking around. It's very shaky. And there's a bit of distortion going on as well. After the incident, the treaty was revised. So they obviously spoke to their agents and said, hey, we want a cut.
I'll tell you something, though. I mean, even though they are... the quality's bad. They move well. Even they move well.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It really is. I know there's comment has been put about like what they're wearing, because the outfit's different between like Skinny Bob and the autopsy. But you and I both agree it looks like a different alien.
Does the autopsy actually have clothes?
Well, supposedly. I don't know.
I think they've stripped it down.
Have they?
I think that I'll bring it up in slow motion for you.
I'm just looking through my notes.
That's got clothes that are down there, but it doesn't look. There's no. That's bare chest.
Right. There's maybe an indication. I'm just looking. If you just bear with me, I made a pile of notes because I went through Reddit and I went through. Have you ever been to skinnybob.info?
No.
It's a really fascinating breakdown on the whole thing. Like, they go into insane levels of like recreations and 3D modeling and all sorts of things going on.
I mean, the thumbnail that I did tonight, I think somebody's done a 3D model of that.
Yeah, you're right. The chest cavity is open. It's got some kind of surgical gown or like blanket or something in the lower portion, because I'm looking at a stitched.
Yeah, they covered his alien junk, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, skinnybob.info, which I've just jumped on now, they go into like measurements and all sorts.
Again, though, what we talk about the UFO community being infiltrated by people that want us to look and go into different places, you know. They want us to go into a different direction than what we're going down. What better way to do that than to put, you know, a few 100,000 into a YouTube video?
I mean, look at, I don't know if the exact amount, but I remember recently, it was the anniversary of September 11th, but in September the 10th, 2001, Donald Rumsfeld, who was the Secretary of Defense, I think at that point, took a press conference at the Pentagon and said, oh, by the way, we're a few trillion down. We don't know where the money's gone. I don't know whether it's 2.3 trillion or whether it's 3 trillion. But I mean, that's trillion with a T, not billion, trillion with a T. We can't obviously find it. And then the very next day, the department that was actually analysing everything and had all the information gets hit by a plane. And then it was forgotten about. So there's obviously plenty of black money, as they call it, you know, going around to put the public off the scent. But I mean, I kind of get frustrated with all this now, because at the end of the day, you know, there's enough information out there now. I don't think it would be a big shock to the population as a whole if the American government or the UK government or the French government turned around and said, oh, those aliens are real, and here's some definitive proof, not fuzzy pictures of the Go Fast or the Gimbal video, you know, actual definitive proof. Or the full length, unedited version of the 8mm converted to digital of Skinny Bob.
I don't think we're going to get anything from the Gimbal.
Yeah, of course not.
No more from that. Thank you very much, Liam369, new channel member. I appreciate you, my friend. Awesome. 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 Are you a Skinny Bob fan? I appreciate that. Thank you, my friend. The problem with this though is the channel stopped. There's no more.
Yeah.
The guy's not speaking. He's not gonna. There's no other platforms. Literally just YouTube. That is it.
Do you think everyone that's watching tonight, we should just bombard the channel with requests for more videos?
That is a fantastic idea.
Because
everybody.
How many folk are watching just now?
Well, it was 150, but you know, somebody had to go wee.
Somebody had to go and wee, right? So over 100 people. Why don't we all jump over to Ivan's channel and absolutely bombard totally spam the crap out of the comment section
in a nice way? In a nice way.
Not troll the guy, but just basically say, hey, we want more. Because that's going to, if somebody has their emails still switched on for that channel, that's going to ping up in their email pretty quickly. And if 100 people do it multiple times, each person comments once on each video, that's a lot of emails heading over that person's direction, Ivan 1350, whatever it is.
In fact, what you could do, you could send him my email address.
Yeah.
There you go. He can come on.
He can come and subscribe to my channel.
You can send him the email address. Ivan, I want to interview you, my friend. I want to ask you about Skinny Bob. I'd rather interview Skinny Bob, though. I'll be honest with you. That'd be Joe Rogan that does that first, though. Let's face it. You know, he's probably going to be the first man to interview an actual alien.
Probably.
Yeah, I think by the looks of it, there's plenty of comments on that channel, but not a lot of responses.
Yeah, but if we flick to the youngest video, which would be the last one that we just watched, and look at the comments, what's the youngest comment?
So I'll bring that for you.
It'll be like 2, 3, 4 years ago, I bet you. So that's the first video.
The latest comment, sort by newest first, something in Chinese. Can you see the comments there?
Yeah, I'm actually just going to jump over to YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, there's 796 comments. I'd expect more, to be fair, on that. Well, it's got nearly 500,000 views on that. But I mean, I don't think the guy would even be looking at. I don't think he's even looking at the channel anymore.
No.
If it was just a project, he's probably done with it. If it was a project, if it's someone who's genuinely put that out there because, you know, this is the real McCoy, I would have thought that person would look at that channel and maybe
The
respond.
closest thing I've seen in terms of the Skinny Bob is the very, very fake. You know, the guy that was done for child porn, Stan Romanek.
Oh God, yes.
The
Dirty
one
Stan.
where the alien is like popping up at the window, and it's like that's the closest shape I've ever seen.
But
Like,
because it's through a window as well. I mean, some people say it was set up by the government, but I mean,
nah, I just think
that old testament.
that guy's just a Fruit Loop, quite frankly. But
you know, he's dyslexic as well.
right.
He's
oh,
sorry,
I just clicked on. Yeah, I just clicked on the live video there.
So that's the thing with dyslexic people as well. They're extremely artistic.
Yeah,
I know dyslexics. I'm one myself.
You're one of them. Yeah,
not a nonce.
Savants and all that kind of stuff. I'm just actually looking through. Somebody's colorized it. Shut that off.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Like that was tried to repeat. You could see through the reflection. There was a bit of eyebrow movement, but it very blurred. Not to that quality that is this little twat.
Yeah, right. Just actually looking. Sort by newest first.
The eyebrow movement, it is fun. I'll give you that. It's the eyebrow movement is pretty amazing, and with you speeding it up there,
it looks even more.
So at first, when you speed, so Lee was the first person I'd seen that speeded it up. You've seen Lee's video?
Yeah, I thought he did a good job with that.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, somebody's actually left a comment on the Alien Grey Extraterrestrial Zeta Reticuli Tape 6 Family Vacation 4 hours ago. Then it's 5 days, 5 days, 6 days, 9 days. So it's a lot. There's still people commenting regularly then. 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, 2 months. So people are still discovering Skinny
Is
Bob.
there any little love hearts or anything like that? You know?
No, there's no pinned comments or responses.
Nothing.
The channel's dead. Whoever did this just is not. They probably forgot the login details.
So there you go. Good place to end the poll. We've got 60-40. 40% of people in the audience think that Skinny Bob is a fake.
It's a fake.
And
it's Yoda as a puppet.
that's weird. It says 40% and it says 59% yes. That makes no sense. Oh, out of a poll of 102 views makes sense. Okay, fair enough. What is fake in the video then? You just think the UFOs are fake?
I think the UFOs are fake. I think the
KGB thing at the beginning.
The KGB thing is potentially fake because it's been identified as coming from a documentary, but that's assuming that they didn't get the logo from the same place that maybe Ivan got the logo. Who knows? That just looks like a blimp. I don't think that's I mean, it's definitely there, but I don't think that's a UFO. That's more like a UFO, but again, shaky camera footage, it's so difficult to tell. This one is this the crash one? Yeah, this just looks. Don't you think if you think about it logically, right? If a UFO or craft was to drop out of the sky and hit sand or rock or whatever, there would be more damage on it.
Well,
because look at the condition. You know,
depending what it's made out of.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, we don't know the metallurgy of these crafts. They're now speculating that they're
Tom DeLonge does.
Tom DeLonge does. Good for him. And was it Chris Mellon does as well, and Lou does. But anyway, we don't really know what they're made out of. But even if it was a really strong material, it's going to have some kind of damage, surely. You know, physics is physics. If you hit something at a certain force, it's going to give up at some point and break apart.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, say it was a real. Say it was a real,
Yeah.
flying saucer. Yeah.
See, we're now reversing. I don't believe this part, and you're kind of talking devil's advocate. Carry on.
No, but say it was a real flying saucer, and it
Right.
it crashed. You're going on that it crashed with a great speed. It may not have crashed with a great speed. It may have been.
True.
It may have been It may have been taken off and taken out.
It could have just given up the last 2 feet before it landed. Yeah, sure.
I mean, you see it in the air, but you don't see it being shot down or anything like that. It's just
Jeremy Corbell was nowhere near that UFO.
Oh,
that's all I'm saying about that.
I've deleted my. I've seen them shut down as recently as last Friday as well.
I love that.
God damn it!
And it's the gun safe next to them that cracks me up.
See, this is the thing, though. Because a lot of people could say this is real, that, you know, how come? So Tom DeLonge goes on Joe Rogan and he points out a TR-3B that blatantly is fake.
That the green one.
Yeah, looks quite good, but fake. Okay, he could have gone on and said something about this and probably got away with Skinny Bob more than that green triangle TR-3B. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, has Joe Rogan ever discussed Skinny Bob with any of his guests?
I've never seen him.
Think of him. I've watched most of the kind of interviews he's done with, like, Bob Lazar and George Knapp and stuff like that. I've never heard George Knapp talk about Skinny Bob.
I don't hear any of them. It's just us. It's just the community that really speak about Skinny Bob. But I don't think any of the famous people speak about Skinny Bob. I just don't think they do. No interest whatsoever. Probably because they think it's bullshit. It's too good to be true. It literally is. I mean that you've got an alien there. You know, it's too good to be true. You got an alien that blinks, that's got a pulse.
That's the thing. It is too good to be true, and I think that's why they've made it look crappy, because it is too good. It's too real. And I think it is real because it's too real. They're trying to sow the seeds of doubt in everybody. You know, you're 40% of people on the poll tonight saying it looks fake. It'd be quite interesting if the people that voted 40% actually put in the comments, why do you think it looks fake? You know, what's your view to why it looks fake compared to what I've been saying tonight about why I think it looks real? Because there's other parts of the videos I think look utterly fake. I'm not saying the whole thing's fake.
What I will do,
or real,
and I will leave a link to your channel, Stu.
Sure.
But there's a link below for everybody that wants to check it out anyway. But I'm going to put that little clip out probably the next few days for people to check it over and look at it and, you know, analyze what you've done there with it. It's because at first, when you speed it up, I thought it looks far too fast, but then I looked at it, the movement is very slick.
It's more realistic. If anything, I kind of sped it up to where Lee had it. It's a pity Lee hasn't joined us tonight, because I kind of based it on what he was speeding it up at. If anything, I would have maybe slowed it down ever so slightly, literally like 1-2% less, but it's still in the ballpark of where I think.
Because you're just matching the time frame, but we don't know that time frame is real.
Well, that's the thing. Well, we know the time code is been overlaid after the fact, and it's based on like supposedly case or tape numbers and whatever time code relates to the overall project, but that can be completely fake as well. And we know the scratches and degradation to the film over the top of it's fake. You know, we know the projector sounds fake. I mean, that's like the first big gimme for anybody, because, you know, why would you have a projector sound? You're not sitting in a room with a camera filming a projector projecting onto a screen. You're actually looking at the screen. So that was like that was the instant kind of red flag for me when I first looked at the video and thought, you know, why the hell have they done that?
Do you think, I mean, with the right gear, anybody can do anything more with this video? Is there anything more that anybody can do other than what you've done tonight?
There's AI software out there. Like, you could, somebody's attempted to bring it up to 60 frames per second, which would connect, almost put it into slow-mo. I mean, I've got some AI stuff there that I didn't bother with because I didn't want to, like you can over sharpen and over exaggerate things, or the AI could bring things out of the film that weren't there in the first place, that it just adds in for shits and giggles, quite frankly. So I kind of avoided that. I just kept to the original frames and just retimed them. There's ghosting and all sorts of things going on in the footage as well, which doesn't help. Like, I know from the original, like the KGB logo onto that first bit of footage, you can actually still see some of the ghosting from the KGB video. And obviously that's an artifact of the way it's been copied originally from 8mm to VHS or Betamax or whatever they've used.
I've never seen anybody talk about the scene that comes up where I think it's just after this, when it looks like there's something that measures his height.
Yeah, what do they call those things? Stadiometers, whatever.
Yeah, but I'm wondering how old that thing could be dated. If anybody could date that.
Well, in the Skinny Bob website, they do actually go into that, and they couldn't find a similar one. They've got loads of examples. I'm just looking for it now. It's further down the page. It's like a one pager. This site, so it's got lots of things on it, but they literally, skimming through it, go to Skinny Bob. Yeah, they literally talk about the measurement side of things. Nope. My God, so much stuff. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, they've got different photos of different stadiometer, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. But height measurement tool, and they couldn't find one that was of a particular, you know, size. But the thing is, these things could be handmade. Some joiner or carpenter in the workshop at the airbase maybe threw one together because a nurse or a doctor broke the original one. You just don't know.
Or the person that spent a lot of money faking the CGI practical effect.
Yeah, I mean, that's where, like, the question comes into, like, pivoting the camera up would normally either cause a perspective distortion or parallax, and it does neither. And there are reasons why it potentially could be neither, but, you know, if there is any parallax or any distortion from the perspective point of view, it's extremely subtle because you just can't see it. I can't make it out. It'd have been good to see whatever Skinny Bob was interacting with on the table.
Oh, yeah, it would. I mean, that's probably the 5th video.
And also, you know how there's in the Skinny Bob one, there's this sort of black mass in the top left-hand corner?
Yeah.
Somebody, in Reddit, they're estimating that it's somebody in a suit holding their hands behind their back. So what you're actually seeing is like from the elbow down to the wrist. If you can imagine the edge of a suit, I think that's what that is. So it's somebody standing in front of the alien. the rest of anything.
Something you mentioned, which that I've not actually seen anybody pick up on, and it's this hand that comes up.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering.
Again, it's a bit like the magician's trick. You know, he's trying to get you to look here when things are actually happening over there. You know, we're reading the text, but there's a really good, handprint in the background there.
Yeah, but what I'm wondering is, you put that hand, which I did. I've literally just thought of doing that right now. But you put the hand alongside, not this bit, but the bit that's
the autopsy.
No, not the autopsy. This, you put that hand alongside them. God, they're big fingers.
I bet you it matches. Interesting to do, but I bet you it matches.
See,
how tall do you think that alien is, if it is a real alien?
Does it not show how tall it is? No, it doesn't, does it? It just shows the... I'm
just seeing if, again, looking back to Reddit posts, if somebody's actually done a measurement.
I don't know how you can measure it. I mean, they look like small little fuckers, but
I would say 3.5 feet personally. Maybe 4 feet at a push. That would be my guess, just looking at it. But I mean, the hands are definitely larger and longer than human hands.
So, Stewie, would you state on the table right now that you're saying that is a real living creature?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't know for reality, but I would, if I was to put a wager of £100 on it, yeah, I would say that we have got actual footage of a UFO, not UFO, sorry, an alien, an Eben or whatever they call them, grey. I would say that is real footage shot sometime between the 40s and the 60s of an alien.
And it's sat there for 11 years on YouTube, and we've made fun of it. We've giggled about it. Some of us have worshipped it. But that's been disclosure right there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say so. But you've got no proof. I would say, my personal experience is, unless somebody can come along and definitively say, like from the visual effects community, this is how they did it, this is what they would have used, blah, 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 and, laid it out from A to Z of how it was made, even giving a monetary value to how much it would have cost to get done. Or if somebody turns up and shows me, the original molds for it or anything like that, then fair enough. But there's just too much going on, too much micro movement. I'm just looking at a GIF, if you wonder what I'm looking at it down, of a close-up. But there's just far, far too much movement of it going on. It's so subtle, even for, over a decade ago. And it's even like there's a sequence whereby, if you go back to it, the alien reaches for something. If you watch the hand and the knuckle movement and stuff like that, and the grab, it's too refined. It's too natural.
So I never noticed that until you'd done the recreation.
Well, it's not. It's just a retiming. It's just a retiming.
Retiming of. You can kind of see. There we go.
Yeah, there.
So for me, with the 12 frames,
where are you with it on it now? Do you think you're more closer to where I'm thinking, or are you still, it's as fake as can be?
I could never say that that's as fake as can be, because I keep looking back at there's a video of me 3 years ago talking about it, and I never said that I thought it was fake.
Right.
No, I did. I said I think it's fake because I showed some CGI that somebody had done on YouTube back in 2011 of a woman that was fake. She was not a real woman, but it was an overlay that had been put over, I think, over a real woman's face.
I tell you a video I'll need to find that you can put up on your channel along with this stuff. There's a guy, a YouTuber called Jason Nash, and he's a good friend of the YouTuber David Dobrik. He likes to get made up. I bet you if you searched for it now on YouTube, just put Jason Nash alien, he get made up as an alien. Have a look at that just now if you can find it.
Is it copyright?
I would maybe like obviously have the sound off, but I mean, Jason's not the kind of guy to, you know, sue you for it because there's loads of people do compilation mixes of his Jason Nash NES.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Is it that thing that sat in a chair? What's it called? The Jason Nash?
No, it's he walks about because he interacts with like David Dobrik and stuff like that and scares people. But what I'm saying is, if you look at that and him being made up in
What's
that
it called
fashion,
again?
just Jason Nash alien, and we'll see what comes up. We'll see if I'll search it here as well. If I can find it, I'll message it over to you. See if I can get it.
Oh yeah, I know the guy. Yeah, everybody's seen that guy, and I don't even need to show it. I'll just share the screen so people can just see the. But yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, so I mean,
love it.
Yeah, but my point is, if you played some of that, you'll see there's a lack of movement even in his face,
and it's a real face.
And it's a real face. That's my point. You know, he's obviously got proper muscles, proper skin, and he's got latex over the top of it, and it's restricted his movements.
And when did he start doing that? Was it?
He's dressed up as Dr. Phil and like different characters, but he's done the alien thing I think twice now.
I think it's been about 2 years. It's about 2 years he's been doing it. Like 2 years. There you go, 2 years.
But I mean, my point is, even somebody made up as an alien doesn't have the fine muscle control that you see in this film. And they don't blink, obviously.
Agreed. I totally agree with you there, yeah.
You know, so that's, and the guy who did that makeup is a professional, you know, makeup artist for the film industry. Because obviously Jason stays in LA, literally just outside Studio City. It's like Hollywood. So, I mean, he's got access to all these people that can do this kind of stuff. And it doesn't look as good as what Skinny Bob looks there.
Though I will say this, though. If you watch him blink, when you blink, as a human, you close your eyes completely. He doesn't look like he's closing his eyes completely.
I think he is. I think it's so fast. You got to remember, even even if it was 20, it's only 12 frames per second. Even if it was 25 frames per second, you would need to be like 60 frames a second to capture, because a blink's really fast. You know, blinking is one of the things that you do. It's
you don't see the actual proper. You don't see the eye though, do you? You just see the shadow. You don't actually see the eye.
But I mean, even if it was only a half blink, or I mean, again, we don't know the anatomical makeup of an alien. You know, maybe they only half blink or something, or you know, maybe they've got another part of their eye closes up like a crocodile, the nicitating, you know, lens coming across to protect the eye. You just don't know. Surmising now, but you know, the movement. It's not so much the blink itself; it's the muscle movements in the blink, and the actual movement of the lid, and the eyebrow, and the middle of like there, effectively the middle between the eyebrows. It's the muscle movement there, and then the neck movement, and then again, even the nose twitches ever so slightly. and there's a slight movement in the chin. It's really subtle. I mean, you've really got to be, watching it again and again and again to see these things pop up. But to put these things, you can do it digitally, especially nowadays. Even in 2011, you had the time, you had the money, you could do it. But
Could
why
you
chuck at that level of money at a YouTube video that is only sitting at, what, a couple of million views in total for all of them?
Okay, so Stu, right now, today, who would you have to throw this job to recreate that? Who in the
ILM,
industry?
Industrial Light and Magic, or Weta Digital in New Zealand, Peter Jackson's digital company.
So right now you're telling me to recreate that to that level, that quality, it would have to be Peter Jackson's company.
Yeah, any of them, like Digital Domain. I mean, I would point at the two big ones, ILM and Weta. There's other ones like Digital Domain and stuff like that, or Blackpool Studios, but I would say ILM or Weta would be the two companies, especially ILM, because they've obviously got so much experience in the puppeteering, animatronic. If it was just a puppet animatronic, then you're looking at Stan Winston Studios.
How much would it cost now? So back then, you said it cost about 100 grand.
Well, that was assuming it was like CGI between 50, 100, 150,000. I think Abomination said between 50 and 100,000 a few years ago. I would say maybe 150. Now, anything upwards of $1 million easily for that shot.
I thought you were going to say, it would be cheaper now.
No, if anything, it's got more expensive.
What, for CGI?
Yeah.
To pay? Oh, you mean to pay a CGI artist and to get that done?
But you're not paying one artist. You're paying a team of people. That's the thing. You've got a guy, because I mean, you're going to have somebody doing, to kind of break it down the pipeline. You've got somebody doing original drawings to start with. Usually you'd have a director or a producer, but normally a director would approve those drawings. That would then get made into a sculpture, a maquette. Okay, that maquette would then be approved. So it was a 3D object, right? It would then be scanned using a LiDAR scanner. You've got them built into our phones these days, but you can get handheld LiDAR scanners. And that would scan at a really high resolution. That would then be taken into computer software, and they would then make a basic animatic of the puppet or alien or whatever moving. That would then be approved. Then it's going to go off to people who build up the skeletal structure of the puppet, even digitally. You've got people who do the muscles, you've got people that do the skin, you've got people that do the texturing, you've got people that do the lighting, you've got people that do the colouring. The actual environment it's in, the camera movements, the lighting could be 2-3 people. It's a whole team of people to produce, even like, so going back to Corridor Crew, those guys they're a very small outfit, but there's still like, I don't know, a dozen of them, and they're small compared to like Weta and ILM, and they've literally hundreds of people working on different shows at different times. I mean, especially now with Disney buying ILM and Lucasfilm and obviously the Star Wars properties, they've got literally hundreds of people working on these different shows. So, yeah, upwards of $1 million easily.
I will agree that right now, looking at that right now, it's still good for today's CGI animatronic. I mean,
take away the oldness of it. Remove the degradation and the 8mm aspect of it, and just focus on the actual subject. it's really good.
It is, yeah.
If you look at, like, let's take Yoda's the classic example. If you actually look at Yoda from the original trilogy, and then they made Yoda digital for the prequels, and then they did a combination of digital and puppet for the sequels, there's still a limitation to the amount of movement that they put into that puppet.
Yeah, they're not as good as that. They are not as good as Skinny Bob.
And then beyond that, mentioned it already, little baby Yoda, who's behind me here, Grogu, he's animatronic puppet, but also a puppet that's hand controlled. So there's a lot of like rod removal, because it's like little rods, and you know, somebody's puppeteering that little thing. But also the facial expressions that it makes, and when it's eating and stuff like that, that's all, you know, superimposed CGI visual effects on top of the puppet, so that they can add even more emotive, you know, movement and eye control and blinking and smiling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I always ask myself, was it somebody testing the waters? Would it maybe a big company testing the waters with some new technology to what they were going to do in their film?
But again, big
But
companies have egos. Like all these companies have like awards they could submit this stuff to, film, you know, festivals and all sorts of things.
yeah, but then maybe they looked at the UFO community and thought, shit, we can't say anything. They'll end up killing us, you know?
Who knows? I mean, that's the big problem with the UFO community, is it's so divisive. You know, it really is.
But then again, going back to what I was just saying about it being, I ask myself constantly, maybe was a big company putting that out that did have the money to put that, and they wanted to see the reaction of an audience when they put that out.
But they would have owned up to it. I tell you.
But then you look at the little bits, and then you look at this that was put out. That doesn't make sense for a big company.
That's a personal message. As I've said already, it's got a slightly passive aggressive, Machiavellian undertone to it. You know, they're not happy with the way people are looking at it or what they believe or don't believe. And as I say, the hand's fascinating to me. But I mean, if it was a company, they would have owned up to it by now. You know, some member of staff who is long since moved on to another company or got fired or retired or whatever would have said, oh yeah, we did that. I mean, the classic example is it's a viral video, and it's a guy going down like a slide, and then he launches into there and he lands in like a small sort of paddling pool. It was originally done for Microsoft, but they never owned up to it for months and months and months, and then eventually it got, you know, owned up that it was a viral video for Microsoft. So eventually these things come out, and nobody's ever owned up to this. That's the weird thing. Because if I'd done it, I would have owned up to it. I would have been, look at me, you know, come hire me. But nobody's ever owned up to it. And that in itself, the silence aspect of it, the fact that we're now 11 years down the line, it kind of speaks volumes, in that whoever's done this and walked away from it has left a statement which we're going to be debating for years to come. You know, we'll probably do another, as you say, Skinny Bob video in 3 years' time.
Well, if somebody did put that out now, left it for a few months, say it had never been created, and they put it out right now, that video, and then they did own up to it in a couple of months, do you think they get snapped up?
Depends on what context.
I mean for a job.
Yeah. Well, if they were doing it for a specific, like if, let's say, they wanted to work for ILM, then yeah, I think they would. But they would have to show the pipeline of the creation to the guy that wants to see it. You couldn't show like just the degraded version. You would need to show the good-looking version, because there had to have been a good-looking version. for
But
it to be degraded.
what you're saying, it couldn't just have been a bunch of students because they wouldn't have had the money for it. Is that what you're saying? Back then?
No. There's a channel on YouTube called Captain Disillusion. And
Yeah.
he debunks all sorts of viral videos. I don't know if he's ever touched Skinny Bob, but he does one called the Escherian staircase, the ever sort of revolving staircase, where you go up it and then you end up at the bottom and come back up it again.
Yeah.
And he showed how it was done. And that was a student film originally, which ended up, it got debunked before even Captain D got near it. But he really broke it down and also broke down all the errors in it. I'd love to see Alan, I think his name is, who plays Captain D. I'd love to see him having a crack at Skinny Bob, because he could get into it in way more detail than even I can.
So when I used to debunk stuff, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to debunk Skinny Bob, and I looked at it, and the only thing I could do was show other examples of CGI, from back in 2011. There's nothing there that I could. I don't think anybody could successfully properly debunk Skinny Bob. As much as you look at this piece of footage, and it is ridiculous to believe that is an alien in a room that's moving, that is wearing a turtleneck sweater. It sounds insane. It looks too good to be true.
But sometimes things that are too good to be true actually are true. Not always. Not always. I'm sure it looks. Adding up all the evidence that's in front of me with those videos, especially since I did the 12 frames version and the retiming, it just looks so natural. And I just don't get the reasoning for somebody to have gotten to that level to fake it in 2011. Because the thing is, even if they produced that in April, like it was uploaded, April 2011 or May 2011, that's the first 4 or 5 months of the year. They were making that in 2010 if that was being made. That's not something that gets done in a couple of weeks. If it's a puppet, it's multiple months. If it's a CGI character, it's still multiple months.
It's 100%. If it's anything, so in my mind, that is a practical effect. That is not CGI. That is a practical effect with maybe CGI over a practical effect. But then again, we go back to the fucking money,
Yeah.
That's what
Plus, you've got to find somebody with the body type that's skinny enough, small enough, and even
or do you just make a really good practical effect? I mean, look at what is it? Labyrinth.
Right, Jim Henson's.
Yeah, the Dark Crystal,
But again, these are all like they're all.
I mean, that's a puppet maker from the 70s, 60s, 70s, whatever, going into the 80s and what have you. Those are fucking amazing.
Yeah, but they don't stand up like they stood up to. I remember watching Labyrinth and David Bowie and stuff like that, and Jennifer Connelly. But like in '85, I think that's when that came out. It was roughly the same time as Top Gun, because there's an in-joke in Top Gun Maverick to do with Labyrinth and Jennifer Connelly. Yeah. There's a reference to 86. It's getting 86. It's when he gets thrown out the bar in Maverick.
Oh, right,
That's the reference. It's to do with the fact that Top Gun and Labyrinth came out in the same year, and she was obviously 16 or 17 or whatever at the time. And but if you there's quite a few videos on YouTube of the behind the scenes of Labyrinth. And if you actually look at the stuff reasonably closely, it doesn't stand up.
I agree. I've looked at some of that stuff. That sort of stuff. I do a little bit of.
I tell you a movie where there's a character. It's a guy called Billy Barty that dressed up.
I do a bit of model making.
Oh yeah, nice.
I've never finished it. I'm going to finish it.
Do you remember the Dolph Lundgren movie He-Man? Masters of the Universe.
It does to do with Gwildor.
Yeah, Gwildor and the little instrument thing. Yeah,
the cosmic key.
Right, that's it. Well, think of Billy Barty, who dressed up as that character, and think of the amount of movement that he had in his face, and that was in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the technology hasn't moved that far forward. You know,
no, but this we're talking from 2011.
Well, take Chewbacca for example, right? The latest incarnation of Chewbacca, the Swedish guy, because the guy that did Chewbacca, Peter, is it Peter? Can't remember his name right now, but
it is a Peter.
Yeah, passed away not long after The Force Awakens or whatever, and so it's been passed on to this younger guy who's taken on the mantle. There's still not an awful lot of animatronic aspects to Chewbacca's face.
Well, there's a lot of hair
moves.
on it. There's a lot of things that can cover up. They don't need a lot of movement on a hairy face.
But my point is, like, the eyes are real human eyes with makeup around them. The mouth is attached to his mouth via a sort of mouthpiece that he controls.
Mm-hmm.
And the lip moves. There's a lip curl that goes on. But again, it's a restricted amount of movement. Or if you take the apes from Planet of the Apes, I mean, look at the CGI versions of those things that Andy Serkis was involved with in the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the latest versions that came out. They are way more sophisticated than ever been before. I'm not even sure what time when they actually came out.
Somebody should do a video and put loads of different CGIs next to Bob. That would, you know, from 2011.
Yeah. Well, Rise of the Planet of the Apes was 2011.
Well, I can tell you right now, from if memory serves me right, Skinny Bob looks better than that.
I will maybe debate that one. I'd say these chimpanzees and gorillas look pretty damn realistic, but yeah, there's still a level of micro movement and subtlety to Skinny Bob with the lack of detail that we've got there, because the video looks, or the film looks, degraded. That, I mean, this is another thing to consider. If this thing was actually captured in 8mm film celluloid, unless it was kept in an airtight, climate-controlled vault somewhere, that footage is degraded. It's gone.
I will say this: looking at it zoomed in from what you've put together there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt there, but it looks like it does look like it takes a breath.
Yeah, I can see that. I hadn't even noticed that. I paid so much attention to the eyes, I didn't look at the mouth and throat so much.
Yeah, it looks like he goes like that. He goes, and then the throat moves. That's the detail there. It's incredible.
I mean, supposedly these aliens or Ebens or whatever the hell they're called, greys, were
Zeta Reticuli.
They were from an atmosphere that was more nitrogen based, and obviously our atmosphere is obviously made up of like nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and all sorts of different things. But you know, we can, as human beings, absorb more nitrogen than we do, and it seems that they quite liked a nitrogen-rich environment. So that's what they were supposedly breathing. I'm not saying Skinny Bob was breathing that, but these captured beings, supposedly, I've read in different, you know, stories over the years and books and people that have written up in these things, that supposedly they breathed more nitrogen than they did oxygen, but they could breathe in our environment, but they preferred a more nitrogen-rich environment. I don't know the truth in that or whatever, but
before we disappear, because we could talk about Skinny Bob all night, and we'll probably speak about it after over a beer. But the one thing that that I always go back to with this footage is the autopsy scene.
Yeah.
And that is because I don't have a trained eye when it comes to putting overlays on, but there's something about that when I look at it that looks authentic to me. Now, you said you saw overlays on most of the footage.
I don't know. I can't say. I need to look back on the autopsy. I focused just purely for
Did you
tonight.
see an overlay on that?
I think there is something.
Because that's
See how,
Abominations.
like, if you rewind that again and play it again, see the
Slow
little,
motion for you, though.
like, it comes up in the upper third in the middle. The little ink splots, they're actually watermarks. You'll see it coming up in the lighter bits in a second. If that's an overlay, and those ink splots or watermarks rather that you see appear in the sort of circles, there's one there, right? They are easily tracked. So if that is an overlay, there's another one there appeared. If that's an overlay rather than actually being an artifact of the film, you could find that.
Yes, that's what he did. He couldn't find it anywhere. Abomination could not find those overlays anywhere.
Well, the difference between that and the other overlay, which has been found, is the fact that there's water staining those circles, right? That comes down to the 8mm film being dried incorrectly and not squeegeed well enough and cleaned off. Water has basically, little droplets of water is dried onto the actual negative or positive or whatever. And that's what you're looking at there. That says to me that you don't tend to get that in overlay effects because one, they're harder to do, and two, they're messier. They take up too much of the frame, whereas little dust marks and scratches, they get absorbed by the human eye, no problem. Watermarks are a bit more noticeable. So that, to me, Abomination's right. That could be real. But again, it comes like the comparison you kind of have to go to is the Ray Santilli, fake autopsy thing from the late 90s.
Yeah.
The movie Ant and Dec,
I know. Hey, Mr. DB Cooper with the super chat. Mexican, that is, what is that, MX? Oh, he says there, don't get too excited with the Mexican pesos. I don't care, mate. Whatever. I appreciate you, mate. And it's good to see you again, Mr. DB Cooper, my lad. Right. So I want to get, there's a guy, here we go. I'll show you this. Did you see the negative that was it the frame that got sold?
Is this the one he sold as an NFT and the actual frame?
It's funny. I thought. See, Stu, I thought you might bring this up.
Right, I heard about it.
Yeah.
See, that kind of. I mean, again, that kind of looks fake. Do you know what I mean?
So I wish Lee was on tonight because this is where you. So Lee is convinced that the cover up from this, them saying it was fake, he thinks that thing was real. I have to say, I've watched to anybody in the audience, go watch that thing get chopped up. It doesn't look like a dummy to me.
I mean, it's that long since I watched the original. I mean, I remember renting the original from Blockbuster at the time.
I think I got it in a magazine. I've got the magazine somewhere. I think probably. the magazine I got had the tape on it.
Right. But I don't know. See, that alien looks more humanoid than the other aliens. It's got more of a brow.
Yeah. Looks like a proper body, that.
From what I understand, did they not have the original footage and then had to fake it because it got destroyed or something. And what we're seeing here is one of the frames of the original footage. Because if you look at that negative and you look at that like still, they look slightly different. The head shape's different.
It does look slightly different. It does. Oh, thank you, Bobby Dazzler, my lad. I appreciate you. There you go. We got Skinny Bob giving us a £2 there. Cheers, mate. Here's the thing, though, Stu. The Skinny Bob and the alien autopsy, they're nothing alike.
Yeah.
You know?
The only similarity we've got is the camera angle and the position of the alien. You know, it's going from right to left at an angle, and 500 pesos, wow.
I don't know what 500 pesos is, but whatever it is, I appreciate that very much. It's pink, so it'll definitely get a few food beverages there, Mr. DB Cooper.
I'm just
Mr. DB Cooper, you're gonna have to come on for an after party one night when I'm gonna have a few more beverages.
Hey, that's not to be sneezed at. 500 pesos is about $25.
Oh, mate. Well, I don't care. Any donation is a good bit. $25 will buy me a case of beer for the next show, Mr. DB Cooper. You're pickling my liver, my lad.
Very good. But anyway, no, I mean, that's as much as I've got for you tonight. I mean, yeah, I think we might revisit this again, and I'll put together some CGI comparisons from the same time, and also look at...
That's for you, that super chat, Stu.
Yay.
Seems like our Scott. Are you any good at reading?
Yeah, seems like our Scottish lad talks proper Scottish sense. Call out the bullets when you usually see it, and if you see it, nice lad. Say it like it is, mate. Nice, thank you, Ginger Steve.
Thank you, Ginger Steve. Yeah,
cheers. Appreciate that.
He's probably just like come in at the last minute and thought he's talking sense. There you go.
He's been to the pub.
Yeah, he may have been to the pub. He's got a pub across his road. But yeah, before we do get off, I do want you to just go back to this for the audience that may have just joined one last time to break it down to us like I'm 10 years old, because I don't understand this video magic. And thank you, Ginger Steve. Love you, my man.
Right, last time, go for it.
Okay.
Right, so I've got the original Skinny Bob video that I ripped from YouTube. Okay, and then the next one is I have taken a 25 frames, so that's 25 images per second, and removed the duplicate frames, bringing it down to 12 images per second, which is what 8mm film would have been filmed at. Most movies are filmed at 24. I've then retimed this so that it ends up coming out at 30 frames per second, so 30 images every second, and made sure that the speed matched the time code. I've graded it. In other words, I've added a bit of contrast, brightness and darkness, and then sharpened it up. And then in this segment, I've highlighted the eyebrow and the eyelid, because that's the bit that I think shows off the most amount of detail and micro movement that you just would struggle to get. There you go.
And again, 2011 people. And how much money?
Well, back then, between $50,000 and $150,000. Nowadays, with the quality of the software and the people that would need to be involved, anything up to $1 million, just depending on how you did it. If it was a combination of puppet, animatronic, CGI, or if it was fully CGI. It's cheaper probably to do it fully CGI. You could definitely do it for less. But I mean, just the amount of steps involved, it costs a fortune. That's why movies cost $200 million, you know, like big sci-fi fantasy movies and stuff like that. You know, there's a reason for that. I mean, once they've got something made, like a creature, it's then easier to animate it for other scenes. So the initial outlay for the likes of Yoda, for example, in the prequels would be X amount. It would be a large amount. But once you then are doing further scenes with that CGI character, it then becomes cheaper. But the initial outlay is always the most.
The dyslexic man's going to read this one out because I don't want you blowing smoke up your own ass there, Stu. But it says, just to say the Scottish lad needs to come back, disprove this nonsense. Don't let this nonsense... Oh, you're going to have to help me read this now.
Infiltrate this community, grab a wad of reality and tell us how this is to what actually happened. Looks quite real though, lads. There you go. And that's a wad of money.
I told you.
Steve has definitely been to the pub.
Steve has been to the pub. He's come back in and he's watched the last 10 minutes of this show.
Good on him. Good on him.
Thank you, Ginger Steve. I appreciate that.
Right, Ollie, are we going to wrap up?
We are, mate. We are.
Okay.
So again, as always, Skinny Bob will forever stay a mystery until somebody
owns up,
or somebody comes up with some technology that can completely back engineer that.
Yeah. The way artificial intelligence is going, it's probably a month away. AI is moving so fast in this field now in terms of what you can do with it. It's scary.
Well, Stu, it's been a pleasure as always. Everybody, Stu Little's channel is I Am Stu Little. It is in the description. Go check him out, people. He is a video editor, so he knows his shit when it comes to talking about this stuff. I have no idea. And also, he has seen all 6. Sorry, Stu. Calvine UFO pictures, and this is and that made a bit of a stir in the UFO community. So,
yeah, just if you're going to talk Calvine for a little second, somebody popped up a thing on Twitter the other day that showed a fishing lure exactly the same shape as the Calvine UFO. And that, to me, actually looks realistic. I think maybe they faked it and put a fishing lure up. Like
Professor Simon, he showed that as well.
Right. That doesn't look... like I could see that actually being a thing.
Yeah.
So I could. So who knows?
Yeah, but to get it on the side like that, I don't know. But
2 bits of fishing wire.
Your dog sounds like it needs a piss, and so do I. So
yep.
I'm gonna say good night, God bless. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you, everybody that supports the channel.
Cheers, everyone.
Go subscribe to Stu Little if you want to learn how to video edit,
especially on the iPad.
Especially on the iPad or iPhone.
I've been inundated here.
Yeah. Good night, God bless, people. My little still. Bye. I'm Alien Addict. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.